right, what's happening, Mr. Greeson? How we doing?
We're doing better than most. The family and I, it's spring break in Chattanooga. We are down here at Amelia Island and just enjoying the sun and the surf, even though it's cold. And you just got to make the best you can. There'll probably be a game of putt-putt in our future and a whole lot of fried shrimp.
Oh, ooh, that fried shrimp got me hungry there. Nice. Okay, so we're gonna start by just we're gonna reel off the odds to win the tournament, and then we're gonna go through uh, the bracket and kind of forecast, what games we see coming to fruition down the line. And as I get Bet Online's SEC tournament odds, bear with me for a moment. Anything Saturday, big takeaway? I guess it's got to be Kentucky's outright win. Oh, and kudos to Mr. Greeson who called for the money line. What did you get, a plus 300 or
It
not
was
quite
right.
that
It was plus
generous Saturday?
290.
Nice. And shame on me. I was on Kentucky, but I certainly mulled the money line as well, but I did not pull the trigger, unfortunately. Should have, woulda, coulda, shoulda. And then Vandy with an upset of the Gators, which, in fact, I saw Lunardi's latest bracketology, and he had Florida down to a 7 seed. But I've seen others where Florida was still a 6. But that loss could end up haunting the Gators for sure. Could haunt them in terms of where they end up getting seeded. All righty, as I'm almost
Well, if,
there.
if we're going to talk about some of the pains of the last 72 hours, Kentucky was assuredly the highlight. But in that same game, I had the over at 166. I got it early, so I pushed, but that's a really stinky push considering the missed free throws down the stretch. I had Auburn minus 16 at home, and they didn't cover. They were up 17 and then Janai Broom threw a lazy half court pass that a Georgia player caught and hit a 40-foot three to cover the number in the last 20 seconds. And maybe worst of all, and because we want folks to believe in what we're saying, we can't sit here and pretend like we hit every bet. That's fool's gold. That never happened. But last night in the SoCon final, Samford ETSU, the over-under was 146. The final was 76-69. And my Auburn math tells me that's 1 point short, which is bad enough on its own. Brian, I know you probably didn't watch this game. In the last
I
18
did not.
seconds, the teams combined to go 2 of 8 from the foul line. I could make,
Oh,
I could make
uh,
2 of 8 left-handed.
yes. Was that in Jay's plays? Was that a bad beat in Jay's plays?
Yes, it was. That was.
Uh,
We split because I hope you read Jay's plays. You can find it at timesfreepress.com and sign up on the email. We're doing very well through the run of this thing, but we're riding a roller coaster right now. We split last night. We had that heartbreaker, but we were also on James Madison minus a 5.5, and they smoked Arkansas State.
and that's a good thing because they might not have gotten that large bid and they deserve to be in the tournament. And now they are. All right. All I had last night, I went 2-0. I had Gonzaga, and I had their team total over 78 or 79.5, I think, and they got, I believe, 86. So, and I fell asleep before it was over. All right, here are Bet Online's odds to win the SEC tournament. We've got the Vols at plus 175. They are obviously the chalk. Kentucky plus 325. Oh wait, I'm sorry. They doing this horizontally. Auburn has the second shortest odds at plus 275. Then Kentucky plus 325. Bama plus 525. Florida plus 1,200 or 12-1. A&M 28-1. South Carolina 40-1. Look at the disrespect for the Gamecocks. South Carolina 40-1. Mississippi State 50-1. Ole Miss 100-1, Arkansas 150, LSU 300, and Georgia, Missouri, and Vandy are all at 500-1 odds. All right. So, we're going to get to these specific breakdowns of Wednesday's Vandy, Arkansas, Missouri, Georgia, and then the Thursday, Mississippi State, LSU, and Ole Miss A&M. We're going to talk about those games on their own individually here in a little while. Right now, we're just going to kind of look at the bracket, speculate out, maybe guess on some potential lines for some games. So the Vandy Arkansas winner will get South Carolina in the second game of the afternoon session on Thursday. Are we thinking? I mean, if Arkansas plays the way it's played most games in the next 2 weeks, they could potentially win that game if they get by Vandy. But are we going to both just go ahead and move South Carolina in to face Auburn on Friday? Thoughts there?
I think so. I think South Carolina. Uh, I don't know if they're more talented 1 through 8 than Arkansas, but you start when the dominoes start falling and you start playing multiple days and the emotions start going. Here's the thing that I think is important, big picture, especially not without knowing some of these numbers. These teams that an Arkansas who has to win the tournament to go anywhere in the postseason. Agreed?
Agreed.
But let's say they're tied at halftime with South Carolina. And South Carolina, this is a glorious in-game betting scenario in these tournaments because South Carolina's already in. They're not going to care. I mean, they're going to care. I'm not saying they're going to just shrug their shoulders and start throwing up half-court hook shots. But and conversely, if South Carolina's up 18 at halftime, Arkansas's packing the tents because they're just playing out the stream. So don't be afraid of some skewed numbers on some in-game wagers when you're looking at a tournament team and a team that's got to win 4 games to even be considered for Selection Sunday.
Yeah, and actually, 5 games in the case of Missouri, Georgia, Vandy, and Arkansas. They met one time this year. South Carolina beat Arkansas at Bud Walton with 77 to 64. So, but just for this conversation, we're going to move 5 seed South Carolina into Friday's quarterfinals. Agreed?
Agreed.
All right. So we'll come back and talk Auburn, Arkansas in a minute. Let's go down to the bottom of if you're looking at a bracket right now, because 6th-seeded Florida will be getting the Georgia Missouri winner. Again, we'll come back to that game, but I think we can probably do we like Florida to beat either Georgia or Missouri?
I do. I do, and I think Missouri is really on the short list of a team that if they get down 10-2, start circling the Georgia Bulldogs and anybody, because that team's ready to pack their bags and go find spring break somewhere.
All right. So we basically we have agreed we've got a 4-5 quarterfinal matchup with Auburn and South Carolina. That'll be ESPN second game of the afternoon session on Friday, and we agree that the late night Friday game will be a rubber match between Alabama and Florida. So at the top of the bracket for Friday, we've got Tennessee, who will be awaiting the winner of Mississippi State and LSU. Again, we'll go back to that game here in a bit and talk about Ken Palm's line, etc. But just in terms of who we think will win outright and play Tennessee, I'm going to say Mississippi State. What say you?
I'm with you. We're on the same page so
far.
All
right, so Tennessee, Mississippi State is the other quarterfinal matchup, and then with Ole Miss A&M on Thursday, I think we'll both agree A&M because Ole Miss is garbage at the moment, correct?
And A&M big, and Ole Miss is not only.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Ole Miss is not only not playing well, Ole Miss, the Reed Shepherd broke Ole Miss. Period.
Yep. And that is Kentucky A&M. Uh, that's the first game of the night session Friday. Um, or at 7 Eastern. That'll be on SEC Network. The Friday afternoon session games are on ESPN. The night games are on the SEC Network. And then Saturday semifinals and Sunday will all be on ESPN. All right. So we've got at 1 o'clock on Friday, we've got Tennessee and what we believe will be a matchup with Mississippi State. Oh, and by the way, um, Lunardi's latest updated this morning. He's got Mississippi State still in his last four buys, but they're the last team of those. So in other words, they're not in the last four in, but they're the if it was the last five in, they would be the fifth team in. So Mississippi State really needs to win the LSU game to avoid having a lot of anxiety on Selection Sunday. But if they do that, I think they'll kind of, be feeling free and easy against Tennessee. But I still think we need to. Tennessee will have home crowd advantage in Nashville. Let's see how they fared Tennessee and Mississippi State when they matched up in the regular season. Oh, Mississippi State beat Tennessee in Starkville, if I'm
Yes.
remembering correct. Yes, 77-72. Did they have a return game in Knoxville? Doesn't look like it. All
Let
right.
me correct something, Brian.
Um,
Reed
Go ahead.
Shepherd hit that floater against Mississippi State, not Ole Miss.
Correct. All good. So what are we thinking for a line on Tennessee, Mississippi State? I'm thinking seven-ish, maybe. What what
I
what
think it'll be
what
a
do you
little
think?
more than that. I think it'll be a little more than that.
That's probably
You referenced
yeah.
Nashville, and that's going to matter. I'd say 70% of the crowd's going to be either in Commonwealth blue or safety orange, and both of those teams. It's just going to be how Tennessee now has the added motivation. Motivation is a huge part of this because a lot of these coaches, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. A lot of these coaches don't want to play 4 games in a row, stress out on Sunday, give them Monday off, and then have to get ready for a very short week, and roll the dice with your entire season on the line in a one and done format. But Tennessee, with that unbelievable Kentucky loss, I mean, not unbelievable that Kentucky won, but it was an unbelievable game that
Right.
Kentucky prevailed in. They now need a couple of wins to really be a serious one seed contender.
Yeah, on second thought, with Tennessee being in bounce back mode, with Mississippi State playing a second game in 2 days, yeah, my seven was you're accurate. I would probably want to adjust that to 8.5 or 9, and wouldn't be surprised if it's 10. Um,
Right.
and but I don't know that I would be laying a big number with Tennessee. I would definitely be okay with Tennessee in a money line parlay there. Your thoughts are? Would you lay a big number with Tennessee there?
Well, I think be interested to see how Mississippi State plays because you're right. I think Mississippi State needs one win to get in, and then if they start out fast and free and they believe they're playing with house money, and the Hubbard kid gets going, you won't talk about a shootout
Right.
at 1 o'clock from Nashville. Let Connect and Hubbard start going toe to toe, and I mean those two dudes, they could each have 28 by halftime. So I mean, I think Tennessee is the side, but I'm kind of your money line parlay is an idea that would certainly grow on me, especially with a lot of those quarterfinal games up and down the board.
Yeah, because we'll be able to get a lot of 7 to 9 point favorites that haven't played yet, playing teams that are either playing their second game in 2 days or maybe even their third game in 3 days. And one factor also that would definitely go into my handicap of that is, does Mississippi State put it on LSU by 20 and Hubbard only have to play 25 minutes, or they only win by 3 and Hubbard plays 38 minutes and Tolu Smith's he's a big boy. Does he play 35 minutes the day before, or does he play 22 minutes? That that could obviously play a role in our thinking. All right, South Carolina, Auburn. Huh. This is a good one. All right, let's see what you might know it off the top of your head. Oh yeah, y'all beat them by 40, right?
Yeah.
101-61? Yes.
Yeah.
And there was not that was the only meeting, correct?
Correct.
Yes, that was the only meeting. Yes. Okay, I think we got to make Auburn a considerable favorite here, but at the same time, it's not Auburn at home at Neville Arena. Um, five or
Here's
six?
something,
You
and I
thinking
love
more?
this. I love this in these conference tournaments because these games are on Friday. You're talking about 3 o'clock on Friday. The entire
Yep.
Tennessee contingent is going to root for South Carolina. Alabama's going to play the next game. The entire Alabama contingent is going to. This is going to be a road game for Auburn. Whether
Yeah,
it's because
Kentucky
Auburn's
fans will
Auburn,
be
Kentucky fans rooting
well,
against
actually, I
Vince
don't know.
Pearl.
Yeah. 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 This
So
is a home game for South Carolina.
it is. But the number of books sold, as long as Kentucky and Tennessee are still in it, this will be a home game for South Carolina. And that'll be real interesting to see. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm the world's smartest guy, but that doesn't play into an algorithm anywhere. I mean, this is a
Right.
neutral site. You got to punch in neutral site. But if you know how SEC fans operate, and you can get
Yeah.
South Carolina, who was humiliated in game one. If you can get
Yes.
South Carolina in double digits, which I think it's probably going to be around there, boy, that's tempting to me. Do I think Auburn wins? Yes. But South Carolina in double digits, I think Lamont Parrish has had if he could have one team he wanted to play again, I'm certain it's Auburn.
And nice bounce back win by the Gamecocks on Saturday. Going in to Starkville and getting the job done in overtime, and that was not desperate. I mean, that was a sense of urgency for Mississippi State to win that one, and South Carolina gets that road win. And I think that line ended up going to 5.5, and they win in overtime. So Lamont Paris continues to impress. Yeah, so that line with Auburn, South Carolina, that will be interesting to see. And I agree with everything you said in terms of the fan support. And I mean, I know South Carolina is not known for, but they'll probably bring a decent contingent of fans. I mean, this is a season from the heavens. They probably will bring a decent amount of fans. I mean, obviously, we're not comparing it to a Kentucky level amount of fans traveling, or certainly Tennessee's alums being in Nashville. Okay, all right, Kentucky A&M, the first game of the night session. Um, I'm going to look up what they did in the regular season. Oh wait, A&M beat Kentucky in overtime in College Station in early January, if memory serves. Any
That sounds
thoughts,
right.
Jay? Yep.
Look that up, and I got several thoughts on this. I think if Kentucky wins this game against a Texas A&M team that I think Buzz Williams has their attention, I think Kentucky wins the whole thing if they win this game. I think Kentucky is the best bet on the board that you offered earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and at 325.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that yesterday, DraftKings, and I want everybody to go to our partners at Bet Online, but I saw just on the wire, DraftKings had Kentucky at plus 400. So that tells me that thing has been lathered to drop to plus 325. And it makes all the sense.
Mm-hmm.
Plus 400 is comical for a team that's won 7 of their last 8 since losing to Gonzaga at home. A team that just put 86 on the second best defense in the country in Knoxville. And a team where you got to choose between guarding Dillingham, Reeves, or Shepard, because you can't guard all three. If you guard all three, you're guarding none. And we know that place is going to be blue. It's going to be Cattsville. We know everybody from Paducah to Pikesville spends their discretionary money taking a trip to the SEC tournament. And I'll go you one further. I think for the first time since Kentucky was undefeated and had their hearts broken by Wisconsin, I think John Calipari is having fun and likes his team. And I think he also realizes that the Kentucky faithful is tired of going 2 and out in the SEC tournament and 2 and 3 and out in the NCAA tournament. These games matter to Cal more. And I don't know the man, but I just know the fan base. I know him well. Yeah. And that's my opinion, that I think he's got to be aware of that. And if somebody in the athletic department hasn't made him aware of that, then they want him gone.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So it was a 97-92 loss by Kentucky in College Station on January 13th. So Kentucky in revenge mode there. I'm thinking with the just enormous home crowd advantage, that's going to be Kentucky minus 6 or 7 or
I think that's
more.
I think that. Hey, I'm all over Kentucky if I can find it at 6 or 7.
Okay. Yeah, no, it may be bigger than that. It could be bigger than that. I would definitely like Kentucky in a money line parlay there. I think it'll probably be higher, but certainly if it's 6 or fewer, I'd probably be interested in Kentucky. All right, Florida, Alabama. Now, this is Florida just smoked Bama. Florida led by double digits with 9 minutes left at Coleman Coliseum, and Alabama rallied to its credit, ended up winning in overtime. But now Bama's gotten Wrightsell back after he missed 4 games with a concussion. But now a double-figure scorer in Rylan Griffin missed the regular season finale against Arkansas. And I did see something about they're optimistic he may play this week. But, we won't know till Friday, or maybe we'll find out a little, maybe we'll find out Thursday. But that's, and they trailed every second of regulation except when they pulled even there with 21 seconds left and found a way to beat Arkansas. And thank goodness I didn't moneyline Arkansas. We both liked Arkansas, another winner we had a pretty good day this past Saturday. Both of us did. So I would like the Gators in this game.
I would too.
And
I'm with you.
Go ahead.
I think the Gators are going to have a little bit of the red ass from what happened in their last trip to Nashville 3 days ago, and I think we all agree that Florida's in. I don't even think they're smelling the bubble, but they don't necessarily want to go into the tournament on a 2-game losing streak. Roll the dice about getting maybe an 8-9 game in
don't want to be in an 8-9 game.
Boise, Idaho. I mean, you just there's a lot to play for here because of that steal layup and the dreadful last possession in Nashville in Memorial Gymnasium.
Yes, agreed on all that, and I think that getting the ho-hum win over Georgia and Missouri doesn't really do much, but then getting a win over Alabama, I think that will solidify a 6 seed, keep them out of a 7-10. Whereas losing to Missouri or Georgia might definitely throw them to an 8 seed, and if they lose to Bama, they might maybe be a 7. Depending on how things shake out everywhere else. So we would both like the Gators. And I think that would be anywhere from a pick 'em to one team or the other favored by 2 or less, 3 tops. Would you agree?
And I would be real interested in the total in that game.
Yes.
Especially because we know Alabama can not only really score, they are indifferent defensively. And Florida, we talked a little bit about tired legs, and that's important on back-to-back games and stuff like that. But something that actually kind of works to the benefit for those teams playing that second game is you've now had a game in that gym. So you've been able to shoot, you've been able to play, you see the sight lines a little bit better. You understand the floor a little bit better. I mean, yeah, you can do the Norman Dale and have Strap put Ollie on his shoulders and drop the tape measure down from the rim 10 feet. You'll find those are the same measurements as our gym back in Hickory. So, I mean, I get all of that. But the other part of it is you're comfortable and you're more comfortable. So,
Mhm.
but no, I
Yeah.
like Florida. I think our Final Four is pretty similar, at least in wins, because we can't know the numbers. We can't give you best advice. But I got Tennessee, Auburn, and Florida, Kentucky meeting on Saturday, and that'd be a whole hell of a lot of fun.
Absolutely. It sure would be. And Florida and Kentucky have had two great games. Florida led nearly the entire way. Kentucky rallied back, and which has been a theme with Florida this year. Unfortunately, have given up a lot of leads late in the second half. And Saturday and to Vandy was another one. But Kentucky, Florida. Now, Florida would be playing a third game in 3 days there. That would not be the case with Tennessee and Auburn. They would have the regular amount that were, they'd just both be playing a second game in 2 days. I would favor Kentucky to win that game, but if they're laying 6 or 7 and Florida looks really good, I might be interested in Florida catching the points. Now, me personally, I would love to lose by 1 point, not have the legs go through 4 games in 4 days. I would love to lose a close game to Kentucky, nail in that 6th seed for the big boy tournament, and bid farewell to Nashville. Now, you, on the other hand, at the max, only have to play 3 games in 3 days. Of course, you want to win. Now, Tennessee Auburn spread with Tennessee having a home crowd advantage. Tennessee's
Or
got to be favored in my mind. Um, that's what I'm thinking. 4, maybe 5 tops. 5 tops. I mean, and who knows? Maybe 3 or 3.5. If Auburn routes South Carolina, who knows? It'll probably,
well, those two teams
a
played
slight.
a tremendous basketball game in Knoxville,
Yeah, they did.
and
They
and
sure did.
Kentucky and Tennessee pulled away at the end with free throws, and I think it was maybe 6 or 8, but it was a very good, very physical. Two of the top 5 or 6 defensive teams in the country. Auburn's one of the deepest teams in the country, and Tennessee goes at least 8 deep. Um, so I'm a little puzzled, Brian, why uh, Auburn is catching the second shortest odds. I mean, because Auburn and if Tennessee's chalk, that means to win the whole thing. If Tennessee's
Right.
chalk, why is Auburn getting the second shortest odds? And those two are going to meet in the semifinals. I just was a little perplexed by that. I mean, I don't know.
Well, it adds in. It adds in because I agree with you. I think Kentucky's the best future play to make.
Right. Correct.
So, who are you going to give the win to, Auburn or Tennessee?
I think Rick Barnes wants. I'm not saying he's got anywhere near the whispers and the hubbub about the frustrations, but this is a big postseason for Rick Barnes. He's publicly said this is the best team he's had. Tennessee's never been to a Final Four. Alabama and Auburn, I mean, it's one thing for the rest of the league for when Florida had Billy D and all that great run of talent, or when Arkansas was Arkansas. For those teams, and of course, when Kentucky is Kentucky, when those teams win the SEC tournament, you kind of go, okay, it's like Bama or Georgia winning the SEC football. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You mess around and let Auburn and Alabama win a couple of these things, and the fan base starts going, hey, what's going on? Come on, Rick. Come on, preacher Rick. Let's figure this thing out. And whether you want to admit it or not, the shadow of Bruce Pearl still looms over the Tennessee program. And you know it would be boss sauce. You know it would be boss sauce, and it works. Let this semifinal tip off at 1 o'clock on CBS. Let Bruce Pearl show up in a Ray
ESPN.
Mears orange blazer and let that place just go nuts. Nuts.
Okay, well, I don't think you ever answered the question. I'm gonna go with Tennessee to make the finals.
I'd go with Tennessee too.
And
They've got the best player on the floor. They've got they've got a wave of size that counteracts Auburn's best offensive player when they've got to have a basket. Auburn's great in transition, but Zakai Ziegler, the good Zakai Ziegler, doesn't turn it over. So Tennessee's a bad matchup for Auburn. So yes, I would go there, and then I'll lead you off on the other. I think Kentucky. I think we're going to see a rematch 8 days later, and it's going to be.
I agree.
I think it's going to be a Donnybrook because
That's
I
gonna
think
be
they both really want it.
yeah, yeah, and I think Tennessee would be favored by 2 or 3.
And I don't. I did not see anything Saturday to make me change my opinion on. I would take Kentucky on the money line.
Okay.
And when
All
we go
right.
to the Big
Well,
Boy tournament and we reconvene next week, I can assure you, I've put my chips in Big Blue. I have put them on the front end, and I know you like to pick a team. Like I know you got South Carolina at extreme odds, and you're hoping they can get through that
100-1.
those first weekends and start hedging and you collecting checks and stacking chips. And I get it, but I'm already on Kentucky. I'm already on Auburn, and I'm sorry. I think Cal is a different Cal this year, and I think he's got a wave of NBA dudes with the ball in their hand that nobody in this country can match.
Yep. There's no doubt about it. I saw On3 has got Reed Shepherd projected to be the #1 pick in the draft, but like I said, he should stay in Lexington if for the co-ed reasons, if no other. No other. All right. Bet Online, our good friends at Bet Online. I'm just gonna give the top couple of future odds, and then I'm gonna let you know every SEC's SEC team's number to win it all. All right. So UConn is the plus 500 favorite at Bet Online. Houston plus 550. Purdue plus 825. Tennessee's got the fourth shortest odds at plus 950. Then we got Arizona 12 plus 1200 or 12-1. Carolina 14-1. Kentucky 16-1. All right. I'm just gonna go SEC teams now. Auburn 22-1. Alabama 40-1. Don't waste your money on that. And Florida 75-1. I'm not opposed to that. I have
Especially if
that.
you can look around and see, because you can also get some props on getting to the Final Four.
To make the sweets. Oh yeah, or make Sweet 16. Some books will have that, but probably not until
The matchups.
after selection Sunday. Yeah, after we see the matchups. South Carolina, not 100-1 anymore like I got it, but it's at 75-1. And then, well, Mississippi State, 125-1. So where are you, Texas A&M? Texas A&M. 300-1 on Texas A&M. So there you have it. All right, so let's do a little quick look at the 4 specific games that we know. And as we're discussing, I can go check and see if those odds have been released yet, but they had not as of starting the show. So Missouri and Georgia, or no, I'm sorry. Let's start Arkansas and Vandy. And that one is at 7 Eastern tomorrow night on the SEC network. And Ken Palm has Arkansas as a 6-point favorite with a total of 148. I wrote down Arkansas 4.5 or 5. Let's remember, Vandy just went to Fayetteville 2 weeks ago and won outright 85-82 over the Hogs as a 10-point road underdog. And they've actually won 3 in a row over the Hogs in the head-to-head rivalry, both straight up and against the spread. But both teams are playing well. Arkansas 6-1 against the spread in its last 7 games, and even the loss to Kentucky, they had a 9-point lead with about 8 or 9 minutes left in that game, and led the entire regulation before losing in overtime against Alabama. And then the first spread cover in this 7-game run, they were leading late at Mississippi State, and Mississippi State had to rally to win. So Arkansas is playing well, but so is Vandy. They played Kentucky tough midweek last week. Was leading most of the first half, and then they beat Florida. And the key, well, Tyron Lawrence is playing better, but Vin Allen Lubin is becoming a force. But for Arkansas, it's Caleb Battle. He had a 42-point game, a 36-point game, all in this like last 6 or 7 games. So let's say it's 5 or 6. Any thoughts?
Well, I'm actually going to lean towards Arkansas, and I know Vandy is playing better, and I know they've got the go-to guy, but I think if memory serves, your 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 stats and your results about how Arkansas is playing better, this is the healthiest they've been since
Yeah,
very early in the year. And Arkansas healthy, and what we projected is
good point.
I mean, they're a top 20 team from what we were talking about around Thanksgiving. And then they lose a lot of players, and those guys lose interest, and then they got to get back in game shape. And I mean, I think Arkansas and the numbers you threw out earlier, I mean, the cosmic tumblers are there. If you really want to take a flyer, I mean a flyer, the only team playing in the first 2 days that I'd be willing to back is probably Arkansas. Just because if they are fully healthy and they're ready to roll, who they could play. I mean, they played with Kentucky. Auburn went over there at their low point, and Auburn beat them worse than anybody's ever beaten them in Fayetteville. But that's not the same team anymore. Right. I would lean Arkansas here. I think they've got more dudes.
Yeah, and another game they went to A&M when A&M was getting fairly desperate, and they won 78-71 on February 20th. So yeah, I lean Arkansas too. Now, if it were to be more than 6, maybe I would money line parlay them. I don't think I would lay more than 6. At 5 or fewer, I would probably be on Arkansas. All right, so let's move over to Mississippi State at LSU. Or no, I'm sorry. Let's go Missouri. My apologies. Let's go Missouri, Georgia, because that's tomorrow, Wednesday's late night game. So Ken Palm has got Georgia -5, total of 147. I agree. I made it -5, and they met in the regular season at Missouri, and Georgia won 75-68 as a 5.5-point road underdog. The 143 combined points went under the 150.5-point total. Just a couple notes. The overs hit in 5 straight for Mizzou to improve to 17-14 overall. The unders on a 7-4 run for Georgia, but to improve the under 17-14 overall. Georgia's in a 2-10 straight up slump, but 6-6 against the spread. But that's irrelevant because they're going to be favored in this game. Mizzou has not tasted victory since December 30th of 23. Maybe Georgia in a money line parlay, but I don't know that I'd lay 5 with Georgia. Any thoughts there?
I probably will. I think Georgia. I got to tell you, I watched from tip to buzzer of Auburn, Georgia. I may have been the only one, but the final was 14. Auburn played really well at home on Senior Day. I mean, they forced turnovers, and Georgia hung in. Georgia made shots, and the big dude is a handful. So,
yeah.
I think this could be one of those that starts poorly for Missouri and cascades, and they look up and go, "Here we go again." They could be the the two groundskeepers on the mound in Major League, and they go, "Oh no, they're still crappy." Or Rob Schneider in Waterboy goes, "Oh no, we stink again." And I mean, no, I think this is I'm the only play here for me is Georgia. Although I'm not opposed to a money line parlay of those first two night games.
Okay. All right. The early game on Thursday, Mississippi State and LSU. So they met in the regular season. Mississippi State went into Red Stick and dealt out a pimp slap, 87-67 as a 4-point road favorite. The 154 combined went over 143 and a half. But now let's remember, Mississippi State they had won 5 in a row, but now they've lost 4 in a row. But I mean, it's not like they're shameful losses. Reed Shepard basically at the buzzer beats them, and they lose in overtime at home to South Carolina, and they lose. Sorry. Okay, they lose at Auburn, where everybody except for Kentucky loses, and they lose at A&M by 6. So it's not like they are on a 4-game run of just complete stinkers. It's not like that. Ken Palm's got Mississippi State -5. 147 is the total. I definitely like Mississippi State in a money line parlay, and I lean to Mississippi State if it's 5. I don't know that I'd lay more than 5. I probably would lay 5. I'll point out the overs on a 5-1 run for Mississippi State. And I point that out because Chris Jans is a defensive-minded coach and an under guy in general. And I think because he's got this explosive scorer in Hubbard, that they've become an over team because he's given them a lot of points. And the over has actually got a winning record for Mississippi State now at 16-15 overall. And yeah, so I'm either Mississippi State or pass on this one.
Mississippi State's my second favorite play of these first 6 games, and the reason why, I'm a big believer in motivation here. And do I think Mississippi State's in? Yes, I do. Do I think they deserve to be in? Yes, I do. But the pregame speech is paramount here because you talked about how defensively minded their coach is. But at this point in time, you can't a one and done in the conference tournament, which would be, as you said, is that 5 straight losses? You're leaving. Don't let a couple teams steal some bids in some other tournaments, and you're leaving a hole. You're making Sunday a plop plop fizz fizz moment.
Yes, I agree. All right, so we both like Mississippi State, but I'm not going to say Mississippi State's my favorite because if the Ken Palm line is accurate on A&M -4 to Ole Miss, that would be my favorite. So I would just say if A&M is 6 or fewer, I'll be on them. I would definitely like them in a money line parlay where we could just go money line parlay all 4 SEC games and give me Mississippi State, South Carolina, A&M, and Florida, a 4-team money line parlay. I think form is going to hold, or actually I shouldn't say that because LSU is the 8 seed and Mississippi State is the 9 seed. But if A&M is 6 or less, I like A&M. If they are 4, like Ken Palm suggests, love A&M.
Oh, I'm with you completely.
All right. All right. Well, there you have it. I think that we've covered it all. Tell them about Jay's plays. Tell them about the 5 at 10, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, the 5 at 10 is every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern at timesfreepress.com. It's the 5 things I'm thinking about at 10 a.m. in the morning. Been doing it now for, be 14 years in October. Have not missed a day. I am Cal Ripken, by God. The Jays Plays is a afternoon betting email of the games that night. As I said earlier, been riding the roller coaster, but we're still in the 20 some odd months we've been doing it, still plus 96 units overall, and that's every bet, and we calculate it daily.
That is spectacular. Okay, I've got a pretty in-depth Vandy, Arkansas preview written that's on the homepage at majorwager.com. You can find all my content at majorwager.com. Follow me on Twitter at VegasBEdwards. I send out a lot of in-game suggestions, such as Boise State plus 376 on the money line last Friday
All
night
right.
against New Mexico. And I want to thank our good friends at Southeastern 14, sponsored by Bet Online. Best of luck to everybody on all of your wagers. Enjoy the SEC tournament. Oh, and next week we're gonna do a Wednesday show prior to the big boy tournament, which actually will start in Dayton with the first four on Tuesday. But we will have all our picks ready for you Wednesday. Can't wait. Happy March to everybody, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday. We're over and out.